Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let me make sure I am up. And yes, I am seeing myself moving and shaking, so I'm assuming that the world is great. Lunchtime live showing. There's live news going on, so I wanted to do a show while the live news was in place. Julian Assange. So Julian Assange is now, there's a case going on, making a determination on whether the warrant, the arrest warrant that the UK is using, that's hanging over his head, is still valid, seeing as there's no other Swedish warrant it's tethered to. So it's almost like saying, we have a warrant for your arrest for something that is no longer valid. That's what it boils down to. Now, the case that's being made for Julian Assange is, well, look, Sweden is not looking for me. There's no extradition order for me. There's nothing out there. There's no legal thing that says I've done anything wrong. You guys have a warrant for my arrest in the UK saying I skipped bail for something that is no longer in play. You need to get rid of this arrest warrant. Now, the reason he's doing this is because he believes that there is another warrant behind him from the United States that's essentially hiding under the pretext of Britain trying to lock him up and take him into custody. And of course he's not wrong on this. The United States have been after Julian Assange for God knows how long. If he steps foot out that embassy, he will be arrested. Now, there's a lot of fake news that's going on. I'm going to show some of the fake news. So one fake news story is this guy. CBC News Alert. Julian Assange loses bid to have arrest warrant dropped. WikiLeaks founder has been in Ecuador's UK embassy for 5 years to avoid Swedish rape charges. Assange argued warrant invalid since case is dropped, but he's wanted by the UK for violating bail. This is not really true. There are 5 points on the case that they're arguing. Meaning, there are 5 points. There are 5 things that we're dealing with. And in the court case, they're going item by item by item by item. They canceled the first one. Within 5 minutes of them bringing that up, they got rid of the first one. The judge turned down the first one. They still had 4 others. When this story came out, there were still 4 others that were still on the menu that needed to be debated. Do you realize that they haven't even come to a conclusion yet on the other ones? They've adjourned until February 13th. What the fuck is this story talking about? There's more. The Guardian, a paper I actually like. Same thing. Julian Assange still faces arrest after judge rules warrant is valid. They ruled the warrant was valid on 1 point. They ruled it on 1 point. I checked Julian Assange's page. Court has adjourned in my arrest warrant case. Judgment next Tuesday, February 13th, 2018. What is the Guardian and this other story and a host of other websites talking about? He hasn't lost his case. The case has been adjourned to February 13th. What are they talking about? What are they talking about? Let's look a little bit more into the case. Disobedient Media did a really great job on this. This is Elizabeth Voss. Important decision on Assange's legal case is imminent. Let me give you background first, so I can give a little bit more background in the Guardian case. All right. Assange skipped bail in order to enter the embassy on 2012 to avoid extradition to Sweden over allegations of a sexual assault and rape, which he denies. Though Swedish prosecutors dropped the investigation against him, he faces arrest if he leaves the building in Knightsbridge, London, for breaching his former bail conditions in the UK. It's like you got off on bail and you went into an embassy because we were going to lock you up and we were going to extradite you to the United States. And by the way, how sad is that? How sad is that? There's most likely an arrest warrant behind what Britain is doing. Meaning, the United States wants Julian Assange. A rape charge comes up. A rape charge that he denies. Sweden drops because they would never actually come to London to have a conversation with him about it. And it's understood that the moment that he's taken into custody, the United States is going to say, hey, can you send him over to us? In which case they can put him into a prison in which, you know, like other people are getting raped and everything else into our prisons in the United States. How sad is that? that this is what Britain has been reduced to, the lapdog of the United States, the 51st state. You have this situation where these guys used to be the masters of the universe. You know, this empire that spread all across the world, conquered by one of his colonies. How sad. How sad. And I understand that Britain has a dog in this too, because no government, particularly governments like Britain and the UK, want something out revealing the secrets that these guys are doing and the things that they're doing behind the scenes. All governments love to hide behind state secrets. You can imagine if you're being incompetent, if you're doing something that's pretty duplicitous, if you're doing something that the public will look at and be aghast by, that you don't want those out. And all things being equal, it is pretty goddamn convenient to always say states' secrets. WikiLeaks pushes against that narrative. That's why they hate WikiLeaks. That's why they want Julian Assange in a prison cell. For all intents and purposes, they've accomplished what they wanted, whether or not they got their hands on him or not. So last month, Mark Summers, representing Assange, told senior district judge Emma, oh man, I can't pronounce that. Let's just show the story. We'll show this part, and I'm going to move to Elizabeth Voss's story. Emma Arbuthnot, that since the Swedish case had been dropped, the warrant lost its purpose and its function. He said because Swedish extradition proceedings against Assange has come to an end, so had the life of the arrest warrant. The defense paper stated, he has spent 5.5 years in conditions which, on any view, are akin to imprisonment, without access to adequate medical care or sunlight, in circumstances where his physical and psychological health have deteriorated and are in serious peril. Arbuthnot said evidence handed to the court concerning Assange's medical problems included a terrible bad tooth, frozen shoulder, and depression. But Aaron Watkins, representing the Crown Prosecution Service, said Assange's argument for having the warrant dropped was strange and untenable. Strange and untenable, my ass. Assange has been released on bail and proceedings, but he was under a duty to surrender to custody of the court and failed to surrender at the appointed time for him to do so. Therefore, the warrant stands. Assange remains concerned that he faces a secret U.S. indictment on charges related to WikiLeaks' disclosure of leaked classified U.S. documents. Now, let's go to Elizabeth Voss' story, because she does a good job breaking down what's taking place on the legal proceeding today. A legal decision to be made tomorrow will determine whether, and that's today, the UK will drop its arrest warrant against Julian Assange. The warrant was issued in connection with the Swedish investigation of Assange, which never produced any charges against him and is now ended. If the UK does drop their warrant, it may force the revelations of a US extradition order against him, meaning getting rid of all of the fluff. Like, it's like you're working through layers. Okay, Sweden says this. Okay, Sweden drops it. Now the UK says this. If the UK drops it, the United States essentially has to, what's your pony? If you have an extradition charge behind them that's hiding behind the UK charge, getting rid of the UK charge may expose the fact that that's there. Let's keep going. The news comes weeks after it was revealed that Assange has been given citizenship and diplomatic status by the Ecuadorian government, as reported by disobedient media. Sweden has already dropped its own warrant against Assange, on which the UK warrant was based. The UK has a warrant based on the Swedish warrant. Swedish warrant drops, goes away. Why is the UK still holding its warrant against Assange? The UK says, well, yeah, we understand that the real warrant, the original purpose of this has gone away, but you never showed up to court. You never showed up to court because you weren't playing with clean hands. Earlier today, Assange pointed out via Twitter that February 5th also marks the second year since the UN determined he is unlawfully and arbitrarily detained by UK authorities and must be released and compensated under international law and treaties that the UK has signed. Despite this, he has been denied the ability to leave the embassy with fear of arrest. Again, how sad. How sad. Conquered by your own colony. You're breaking international law for the United States. You're breaking international law. Let's keep going. In fact, let's take a look at what the guy from the UK said. From the United Nations said. Okay. Let's try this again.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has been arbitrarily detained by Sweden and the United Kingdom since his arrest in London on 7 December 2010 as a result of the legal action taken against him by both governments. The expert panel called on the Swedish and British authorities to end Mr. Assange's deprivation of liberty. I think the recommendation is quite clear. Respect his physical integrity and freedom of movement, and afford him the right to compensation.
United Nations, they're pretty clear on that. Assange is being arbitrarily detained. Let him go and compensate him for the time that you've kept him there illegally. They haven't let him go. They haven't let him go. Let's keep going. Assange further tweeted regarding the background of his legal situation, providing an article that details important context regarding the history of Assange's detention. The document describes the UK pressuring Sweden to continue the investigation into WikiLeaks co-founder after Sweden expressed an intention to drop the matter. Sweden is like, yeah, we want to be done with this. And the United States, or the UK, pressured them to keep this going because they wanted to keep some kind of pretext for their own charges. The validity of the charges, understand what's taking place. The validity of the charges somewhat evaporates the moment that Sweden says, okay, we're dropping our charges. The UK pressures them. Why are you pressuring anybody to keep charges on somebody? Think of how ridiculous this is. If all of this, if they're right, if this is not some kind of trumped up charge, if all of this really does boil down to a rape charge, why does the UK have a dog in this? Why would the UK care if Sweden is dropping that charge or not? If anything, if Sweden drops the charges, they drop the charges. The UK shouldn't care one iota about them. Why are you pressuring them to keep those charges? The only reason that you would pressure anybody to keep charges like that is if you wanted to keep a pretext to which to try to arrest a person. Meaning that they understand that the validity of the charges itself for Britain goes away the moment that Sweden drops the charges. Understand what, I hope that makes sense. There's no reason that anybody will pressure anybody to keep their charges. Like, imagine the ridiculousness of somebody, Bob Barker, gets caught hitting somebody with his bicycle. Now, Bob Barker said he didn't do it. Bob Barker said, I wasn't even there. I wasn't anywhere near that place. I didn't touch it. I wasn't even on the bicycle. I'm 100 years old. I wasn't on the bicycle. And let's say the UK says, okay, we're going to drop these charges. Fair enough. I mean, we have evidence saying that Bob Barker didn't do it, so we're going to drop the charges. And the United States says, no, keep those charges on Bob Barker. Keep those charges on Bob Barker. Now, what reason would the United States have to put charges on Bob Barker if Bob Barker didn't do the thing that they were saying? They're only doing this for political reasons. That's what I'm getting at. There's no reason for one country to want to keep charges on somebody else. When that country is saying, look, we're dropping the charges, and the other country says, yeah, don't drop those charges yet. Don't do that. We don't need you to do that. Yeah, but you didn't do it. Yeah, let's not drop those charges. Let's keep going. The article indicates that the Obama administration looked at dropping the case against Julian after he obtained asylum, but changed its mind in 2013 due to his rescue of Edward Snowden from Hong Kong. This is particularly important because it illustrates that the continued detention of WikiLeaks editor-in-chief is based on, primarily, a retaliatory efforts of the United States intelligence community, not on any concept of serving justice. God damn it, she's awesome. Elizabeth Voss is writing the hell out this article. She's right. Obama, and again, understand what's being said. Obama was thinking about, once he got asylum, okay, we're going to leave it be. The moment that Edward Snowden released that information showing that the United States was functioning illegally, was illegally spying over everybody of the United States. Now, this is I don't think it's a mind-blowing revelation, but it's one of those revelations that either we're a country of laws or not. If we're not a country of laws, fuck off, doesn't matter. But if we are a country of laws, and somebody is exposing that the United States is breaking those laws, meaning the administration that's in office is breaking those laws, how are you attacking the guy who reveals that? But that's what took place. They're going after the guy, Edward Snowden, who actually revealed that the Obama administration was essentially behaving illegally. That the interpretation that Obama was using for Bush-era laws was illegal. The guy who was in the Bush administration looked at what Obama was doing and said, yeah, it's his interpretation of what we did was amazing. His interpretation of this was amazing. Let's keep going. But her point is, this is retaliatory. The fact that Obama was looking at saying, okay, he's obtained political asylum, I'm going to let this go. Now it's, he helped Edward Snowden, Obama angry, and I'm going to get him and I'm going to make him suffer for this. And so now the case is back on. It's retaliatory. Let's keep going. The American power structure proved through its treatment of Chelsea Manning that it was only interested in punishing truth tellers that revealed wrongdoing. The United States' treatment of Manning, Snowden, and Assange belies its claim to liberal ideas of moral authority under a pretense of democracy. Assange also tweeted earlier today regarding fierce Italian journalist Stefania Mazzuri and her witness statement in the current legal case. The document includes the following as it indicated via Twitter. Okay, I'm not going to go too long in this one. Let's see. Okay, I'll go with this part. The detail contained in Missouri's statement suggests the conclusion that Sweden's investigation of Assange, which has since ended, served as a pretext for the United States and the UK intelligence communities to retaliate against WikiLeaks' editor-in-chief for having revealed damning evidence of war crimes in Iraq and other equally embarrassing information. WikiLeaks has continued to provide insight into the operations of global power structures as the years have passed, despite Assange's detention in Ecuadorian embassy. She's right. She's absolutely right. Whatever the outcome of the decision reached tomorrow in Assange's legal case, one thing is certain. The reason for his detention has nothing to do with justice and everything to do with retaliation from a corrupt system that dislikes having evidence of its crimes being made available to the public. Independent media and those who care for transparency in government should take this moment before a major decision is made regarding Assange to vocalize their support for WikiLeaks co-founder. Clearly, mainstream press is not interested in giving Assange fair treatment and more of the UK and the United States systems of justice, any more than the systems of justice. And they're right. They're right. How do you know what your government is doing if your government decides to hide the fact or the things that the government is doing? So when Donald Trump decides to say, you know what, we're going to allow the CIA to drone strike. And the whole purpose of the CIA is to remain in the shadows, to be this kind of criminal organization working outside the confines of U.S. law. You're going to give them the ability to murder at will because you don't want the public to see the fact that you're murdering at will. The idea of state secrets, the idea that you can put any and everything and say, this is a state secret because this embarrasses us. This makes us look like war criminals. This makes us look like hypocrites. All those things. WikiLeaks' importance is getting across this idea of what your government is doing. You as the American public, you as a public of any country, have a responsibility to keep an oversight of your government, of your country. How do you have oversight when you have a press that for the most part just repeat state secrets? They're stenographers. The intelligence community says this. It has to be true. They're the word of God. The intelligence community will never lie. Even though we have several cases of the intelligence community lying to fucking Congress, no less. But they would never lie. They're paragons of virtue. Whatever they say is the word of God. They're stenographers. And to some degree, they're worse than state media. I would prefer us to have a state media, if I'm being honest, because at the very least, you know that this is coming from the state. Something coming from CNN or MSNBC or one of those other channels gives you this impression as if they have this kind of independent streak, that they're not this kind of governmental apparatus of sorts, when they are just tools of the establishment and the government itself. Independent journalism that's ferocious and that actually holds government accountable, is few and far between and very hard to find. You have outlets like The Intercept. You have outlets like Real News, because I think Real News Network actually produces WikiLeaks and stuff like that. The Guardian, to some degree. These guys were willing to produce the stuff from WikiLeaks. But these things are few and far between and hard to find. One of the things, so the leaks came up with the Obama administration, is they were cracking down on investigative journalism. They had a wing of the White House to crack down on investigative journalists. They didn't want people snooping into the affairs of the administration. WikiLeaks is damn important. It is damn important. So the idea that they're keeping this guy, Assange, and for the most part, for all intents and purposes, prison for all these years is ghastly. And the secrecy associated with it, it's terrifying. Like, you have this power structure in place that's pretending to not be in place. It's like, you know that building is there and they're acting like the building's not there. They get rid of the Swedish charges. Sweden drops their charges. The UK continues to keep their charges. Now they're in court over the charges of the UK, over something that no longer exists. Now, if the UK drops its charges, the United States will have to declare its extradition charge that's hiding behind the UK charge. This kind of pretext to get them locked up. Again, the only reason, it makes no logical sense at all for Britain to have a dog in the hunt. Meaning there is no reason for Britain to pressure Sweden to keep its charges. Why on earth would you pressure Sweden to keep charges for something that Sweden is saying either didn't exist or doesn't have enough evidence for? It's bizarre. It's bizarre. It's bizarre only in the context if you're looking at this from justice. It makes perfect sense if you're looking at this from the context of them trying to prosecute and retaliate for WikiLeaks publishing damaging information about their war crimes, and their failures, and their illegal behavior. So, I'll leave it at that. Julian Assange has my full-throated support. So, let's see who's here. Let's take a couple of questions. Oh, by the way, guys, hit the bell on the channel. Apparently, people tell me that sometimes they don't get notifications when I do these live segments. Definitely hit the bell. I hope that helps. Let's see. Just because Brother Obama has been exposed as a hypocrite or Alpine proportions does not mean Obama ain't a very nice person. Jim Hayden. It depends on what you mean by nice. You can be perfectly nice interacting with somebody. You can still be a killer. I mean, if you're out there murdering civilians, how fucking nice can you be? I'm pretty sure George Bush, if you bump into him, was a perfectly nice person. Bob Ramirez, so you are what the Venus Project considers an expendable. I have no idea what that expendable means. Tina, 14 fan. I like that he exposed the scumbag, but he's just creepy. My instincts tells me he's a child. Where are you getting this from? Your instincts? You don't know the guy. It's just some random... My spidey sense tells me something. Where did you get your spidey sense from? I don't know, I'm just thinking this shit up. I have no idea what that means. Let's see. Kick it holds true for Assange because he has been locked up for years and no doubt wants out. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he wants out. Kicking it with my dog, Muslim lover, peace, man. Anyone can be a spy, foreign or not. Yeah, fair enough. Let's see. Sex scandal is the first line of attack. Yeah, those are easy. I mean, the moment that you declare somebody, that guy touched me inappropriately. Well, that guy touched you inappropriately, whether it's true or not. That guy looked at my ass inappropriately. He had bad thoughts about me. That guy has bad thoughts about women. So, yeah, they make any shit up. I mean, I strongly suspect this was one of those things where, yeah, they just attacked him. I mean, they didn't have anything on him. And apparently he was like trying to get them to come and talk to them, saying, okay, Sweden, come talk to me about the charges. And Sweden would never actually come talk to him about the charges. They would never actually engage with him legally. And at some point, it was like, all right, we're dropping the charges. And Britain was like, yeah, we're keeping our charges because our charges are somewhat bogus and trumped up. And we're looking just for a reason to extradite him to American prison where he can be tortured. That's what that boils down to. It's literally what it boils down to. What do you think about H.A. Goodman? Wolf is sheep, in my opinion. Tune it 20. Tune it. Thank you. Tune it. I like that. Tune it. I like it. 2 to 20. What do you think about H.A. about Goodman? Wolf in sheep clothing. I don't think he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. His clothing. Look, my perspective of H.A. is never really changed on this. Look at it this way. Let me try to make this perspective and see if. Because I think this fits, and I think it's accurate. I think after the election in 2020, in 2016, the primaries, I think you had a lot of lefties. 15 million people left the Democratic Party. Those lefties looked at this process to say a few things. The Democratic Party cheated me outright. Cheated me. It was very clear that they cheated me. They lied to me after they cheated me, essentially saying, hey, we're completely united, there was no cheating, the process wasn't rigged, and all that good stuff. Everybody's happy, everybody's united. Now, this is flagrant lying. Everybody knows it's not to be true. Now, the media is usually, they're just kind of out of it. They're completely out of it, belligerently out of it. And even they understood what was going on. It's like, don't look like you're united. Don't look like you're united. Look at the thing where they asked Tom Perez, did you rig the primaries? And Tom Perez is dancing around, and the guy asked me, yeah, I get that. Did you rig the primaries? Nobody believed it. Everybody understood that these guys cheated. It didn't stop them from lying. Everybody understood that they were lying. Didn't stop them from lying further. Now, you have a YouTube show, and you're pissed off. What do? Like, you can look at this in a few ways. You could say, the Democratic Party cheated me, but I'm going to fall in line and I'm just going to vote for the Democrat regardless of the Democrats cheating me. Or you can say, nothing takes place with Democrats behaving the way they behave. And that between the two parties, nothing is going to take place on the right. I have no expectation of anything taking place on the right. For all intents and purposes, they're locked. They're bought completely. But between the two, the Democrats are the ones that parrot and pretend as if they're FDR-ish. They're FDR-ish. And so between those two, one is flagrantly lying through their teeth continuously. And if you want to get anything done, and you're talking about getting something done with the left, particularly if you're talking about something with the party apparatus, that means the Democratic Party needs to be broken and changed. It either needs to be dissolved, something else needs to take its place, or it needs to be broken and fundamentally changed. Right now, the way it is useless as a party apparatus. I think HA looked at this and said, between the two, this is a problem. Not only did they cheat me, they subverted democracy in the way that they went about their affairs. Trump, whatever you want to say about him, the Republicans allowed him to run. They allowed him a fair and clean contest. We can't say the same about Democrats. And not just can't say the same about Democrats. They chose who they wanted to exceed Obama. It's her choice. It's her choice. I don't care what you want. It is her choice. And that's what they went with. They assiduously went with this idea that you're supposed to choose her. This is the person that we want. This is the person who's going to exceed the primary. If you're H.A. Goodman, you look at this, and you say Republicans at least allowed that person to run. And yeah, they're batshit crazy and everything else, but the person or the party who I expect something from gutted me. They gutted my chances. Part of the reason that we have Trump today is because of what they did in the primaries. If something needs to be fixed, that's where it needs to be fixed. He focuses on Democrats because he realizes that between the two, the thing that's going to get accomplished, or if you're going to get anything accomplished, is coming from the left. And between those two things, you can't get anything accomplished with the left as the way it is, meaning you can't get anything accomplished with Democrats being as feckless and useless and worthless as the way that the party is. He attacks that party. He attacks what that party is. He tries to show this thing of, for all the things that they're saying about Donald Trump, those same things can be applied to the Democratic Party itself, just in differing degrees. He's not wrong on it. I don't necessarily like this thing of bolstering Trump in order to do so. It's like building your own Godzilla in order to attack, King Kong. But I understand his workable point of view. I think that's where he's coming from. I think if Sanders ran again, you would find him on the Sanders bandwagon in a heartbeat. I don't think he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. I think he's attacking the party that he thinks is the problem. And I agree with him when he thinks that's the problem. I think both are the problem. I just don't have this, I don't have this feeling of needing to bolster Republicans or bolster Trump in order to make my case about both. Both are the problem. His focus on Democrats is not necessarily crazy. Or do I think it's wrong? I just don't necessarily like the pretending as if Trump is something more than Trump is. So, that's all. Luca Clemente. My name is Luca Clemente. I'm an author, scientist, and amateur political analyst. Be sure to buy my book, Why Nobody Likes Bob Ramirez, on Amazon. That's funny. That's funny. Let's see. Muslim lover of peace. Commit war crimes, you walk free. Expose war crimes, you go to jail. Ain't that some shit? Ain't that some shit? Muslim lover of peace. Ain't that some shit? George Bush can say, they have weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. He can go around torturing people, bragging that he tortures. Hell yeah, waterboard him. And he walks. That asshole's out there finger painting right now. Edward Snowden is living in fucking Russia. He's living in Russia. I mean, and it's like, we're the freedom and justice and peace and liberty. What the fuck ever. The fuck ever. MJ Wing, he's all about clickbait. Hillary goes to jail. Yeah, that part gets a little bit much. Like where he's like, Clinton's going to prison. Clinton's going to prison like every day. It's like 3 shows a day, all about how Clinton is going to prison or some new outcome. Yeah, fair enough. MTK made England. Okay, Crystal Colon. I swear, every time HA says the name of his book, but her emails, right? But her email, but her emails. It's just the way he says it. He says it fast. MJ Wing, that's my beef with HA. Yeah, fair enough. I think that's a fair point. I obviously like Bob Romero, so I wouldn't harass him so much. Oh, Luca, we know. You harass him out of love. It's like you harass him out of love. Jim Hyde, Republicans 1 step backwards, Democrats 1 step forward, then 2 steps back. Yeah, Jim, I agree, man. I agree. But hurt emails. Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. That's hilarious. Yeah, guys, I'm not going to hold this one too long. I just wanted to keep an update on the WikiLeaks thing. There is fake news out there. In fact, it hurts me to my heart, but The Guardian has put out fake news. And just to do a recap, because I know towards the end of the shows we goes all over the place. Julian Assange still faces arrest after judge rules warrant valid. Here's another one. Julian Assange loses bid to have arrest warrant dropped. WikiLeaks founder has been in Ecuador since the UK, blah, blah, blah. Both of these are wrong. There are 5 points on the case. Out of the 5 points, at the time of them putting that out, only 1 had been decided. Maybe 2, but only 1 had been decided. The case at this moment has been adjourned to February 13th, in which case the ruling will be made. But right now, yes, he's still up for arrest, I would imagine, until the case is decided. But the case has not been decided. On February 13th, on Tuesday, the case is adjourned until then. So, we will know in a week what the judge decides on whether or not that arrest warrant will be thrown away, or that arrest warrant will be dissolved in the UK. And the extradition order from the United States will be revealed in the light of day that it was hiding behind the UK's order for arrest. I will leave it at that. I'm putting the links at the bottom to Elizabeth Voss's article. And I'll also put the Guardian's article at the bottom so you can see it. So, alright guys, I'm going to end it here. If you guys enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks guys.